Okay, y'all, it's unload. Got the tent in the back. People not running. Y'all can carry that, okay? I feel like it's still getting a little cooler right now.
Yeah, I know.
I put a jacket on, though. I start sweating. And then I take the jacket off, then I get a little chilly, so I don't know which direction. Like, look at AC. She doesn't know what to do either. Maybe I'll put my hands in my shirt like that or something. That's just go armless there. I was just on there for warm-up. Probably start trying to get people ready at 8:15, then probably start by 8:20 is fine.
Okay.
We're box number 5. Finish on empty. All right. You want me to yell at you during the race? Sure. Okay.
Runner set.
The girls program had struggled. They hadn't made it to state, and they hadn't won a district championship.
When they won regionals that first year, I think that is when all of a sudden the lid came off. And they were like, here we go, we're about to pop out of the cake for a while.
Never in our wildest dreams would I think it could be 5 in a row.
I grew up playing all sports. I think back in the 80s, 90s, everyone just did everything. And my father was very involved, with football. He loved baseball. And so I came along and he looked at me and goes, oof, this he's pretty tiny. I don't know if that's going to work out. Nonetheless, I still tried those sports and found my calling with running and really kind of found something I could connect with. And then in high school, came to Marcus High School and ran cross country and track there. And my high school coach was the legendary Coach Steve Telanius, Coach T, and was fortunate to be able to have him as my coach and later as a mentor.
Well, and I think that's what makes Andrew successful is that he graduated from Marcus High School. He's a Lewisville ISD product. He got to run for Steve Telanius, who was a foundation for many of our coaches in this district.
Our team qualified to state all 4 years. As an individual, I was good. I wasn't a state champion level good, but I was a good solid runner and was fortunate after that to be able to walk on at Texas A&M. And so I was on that team for 5 years, and then I was an All-American my last year there. And that was kind of the highlight for me to be an All-American in cross country.
Coach Cook got here when I did it in 2007, so roughly 19 years ago. It was either his first year or his second year. He'd won a marathon in the West Coast somewhere, which qualified him for the Olympic trials.
And I qualified for Olympic trials in the marathon. And so that was, post-collegiately, that was my best accomplishment.
Funny story about that is this Olympic trial happened to be scheduled on a date in October, maybe early November, that coincided with, the regional meet. And Coach Cook had to make the decision, do I coach my kids at the regional meet or do I go run in the Olympic trials? He made the decision to coach his team. So it's a pretty cool thing that his kids got to know that he's a world-class runner.
When I first got to Flower Mound, I was 25, 26 years old, and I probably looked like I was 15 years old. So I think you're trying to gain the respect from the athletes and also the parents. They had an established program and coach before myself when I came in, but the girls program had struggled. They hadn't made it to state, and they hadn't won a district championship, and so when I was hired, that was something that I was kind of told, hey, let's continue the success of the boys program, but also let's try to find a little more success with the girls program.
And I think with all of our successful coaches in our district, they don't just wait until these kids walk in the door their freshman year. They are building relationships with these kids as early as they possibly can, and they have to be visible, they have to be present, and kids notice that.
For a while there, I would tell people I'm not sure another program has had more second or third places than we had, in the state.
I think Coach Cook probably owns the distinction of being on the podium more times than any other coach in the state of Texas and not winning a gold medal. It just seemed like he was always the bridesmaid, so to speak, finishing second a lot of times, which was not bad.
You know, a lot of those teams, they'll kind of pave the way. You know, if you don't get on the podium, if you don't qualify to state, well, it's hard to do those things and, you know, not win a state championship.
I knew Coach Cook on a personal level, so I knew that he had 2 children, and then that one was a good runner coming up in middle school. And you know, obviously we'd host middle school track meets out here, so we'd get to watch her just obliterate a middle school field. I mean, just like there's nobody on the track still kind of deal.
Yeah, in 8th grade, there was a race called the North Texas 1600, and in that race were all the best high school athletes in the Metroplex. And I entered Natalie in that race as an 8th grader. It was open to middle school kids, and I said, well, I'm going to enter in there and just let her have fun and go. And as the race is developing, she's racing the best runners in the state, and they get the last 100, and there she is right there with the leaders, and she sprints and she wins it. You know, you've got 18-year-old girls looking around go, who's this 13-year-old kid we don't even know? And of course, I'm excited. Dad, that's my kid. That's my kid won the race. Natalie Cook.
Natalie, an 8th grader at the time, had run, it was like her first time breaking 5 minutes in the mile, I remember. Which, yeah, was huge for her going into high school. But my sister and I, at the time being 6th graders, Sam ran 5:02 and I ran 5:04, I believe. The fact that we, as 6th graders, did that honestly off like very, very little training, I think was eye-opening. I remember that race was in South Lake, and afterwards just like all these like South Lake parents being like, wow, you're only in 6th grade, like Flower Mound's gonna be so good like when you guys get to high school.
When Natalie was in middle school and she got up here, you just start to feel the momentum changing a little bit.
Now, her freshman year, she just did phenomenal. She was 3rd in the state in the mile. I think she was top 5 in cross country.
His daughter brought so much energy to the program and leadership, and when you have leaders like that, you've got kids growing up that want to be a part of it.
You know, with her, and then you bring the 2 twins coming in 2 years later, that's when it really...
You know, when Natalie's group came in, the twins came in, we had a group that was really bought in, and talent helps.
That was a big moment for me because getting that uniform was like a pretty big moment for me just because I had been looking forward to that for so long. We were finally there. We really wanted to kind of make like an immediate impact.
When they won regionals that first year, I think that is when all of a sudden the lid came off. And they were like, here we go, we're about to pop out of the cake for a while.
We got to state, and the team had never won before, but I think us coming in kind of brought this like hope, and Natalie was also becoming a big name.
I remember down there, and the finish line is kind of in this grassy area, and then there's a chute. And I was looking for Andrew. You can keep track of the results on your phones. It's pretty instantaneous. So at some point, I knew that we'd won the state championship by looking at my phone, and I was just like, oh my God, we just did it. We just did it.
We were all kind of like hugging each other and crying just because that was the first one in program history.
Well, I think as a team, it was just nice for them to kind of share that together. You know, we had some seniors on the team, and Samantha Nicole Humphreys were freshmen. My daughter was a junior that year, so I think they'd known each other since, elementary school, basically. So to kind of think this is something they wanted to achieve and for it to finally happen, it was a really exciting moment for all those girls.
That had been what I was looking forward to, like, as a younger kid, is being on that team and, like, winning a state title. That was really, like, my first taste of it. I think it also kind of solidified, but was also, like, the start of this culture that, like, we had on our team.
When you've got somebody like Natalie and the twins and they're dialed in and they're focused, that kind of raises everyone else's game and kind of set the standard and expectations of our program. That really helped us out and really kind of helped us reach, that next level of being on top of the podium and then being one of the better teams in the country.
We knew we were good, and we were going to be good for a while. The thing is, you just don't know how long that longevity you can go.
Winning in track is difficult, especially at the state level. You get 20 points for relays. So if you have the 4x1, the 4x2, 4x4, there's 60 points. So it's not too uncommon to have a team, for example, let's say Duncanville, who's a good track powerhouse around here. If they win all 3 relays, they basically win the meet. So looking at that, we thought, well, how can we beat something like that? And how can we do that? And so the state meet came along, and I thought, well, maybe there's a chance we can win this thing. And Natalie set the state record in the 2 mile, but we went 2 and 3 in that. And so we had 24 points. Remember, we got to get higher than 60, we think. And then our high jumper won the high jump. So it was 9 a.m. and we had 34 points. And I go, what's happening here? And so we look around the stands and people are scratching their head. They go, wait a second, Duncanville's not in the lead. No, it's not It's not Humboldt Atascocita. They're looking at the school. It's Flower Mound. Never heard of this school when it comes to track and field, but we were on top. And so then later the 800 came along, and Samantha won the 800, and so now we're adding some more points. And then, we're getting ready for the mile, and now there's a buzz in the crowd, right? And the Flower Mound girls are coming. It's the mile. You can see the three walking out there, and they can't believe what's happening. And sure enough, we went 1, 2, 3 in that, and it was over, and we won a state championship, so it's pretty special.
That moment, honestly, one of the most defining moments of this program, honestly. I think that just really goes to show the depth of our program, on our distance team.
It was unbelievable. Everyone that was there, the UIL directors, the coaches that were there, it was unheard of. And they had won cross country in the fall. And so for that to happen at state track, I just think it even elevated the program even more, because that doesn't happen.
The Region 1 champion and our new state champion, Natalie Cook from Flower Mound.
Natalie became the standard. She was the face of the program. People would come to a track meet or to a cross-country meet to watch her.
Looking at the fans beyond the banners, it's 10 deep across, an amazing amount of fans here.
Oh my gosh, we're going to see something fast here.
Winding her way home here at Running Lane.
Oh my gosh.
Natalie's success her senior year, our sophomore year, definitely set the stage.
My dad was like, oh yeah, the news is coming. They're just gonna talk about our team. And then they brought this big award. I was like, what in the world? I was so shocked. It was great.
Great to have her father present her as the Gatorade National Girls Cross Country Player of the Year.
Natalie was, as y'all know, was our state champion. Was recently announced also as the Gatorade Texas Player of the Year for cross country. And today I'm pleased to announce that she is officially the Gatorade National Cross Country Player of the Year. Congratulations to Natalie. So, there you go. Winning the Gatorade National Player of the Year was, we knew she had a great season, but you never know. And to be dad and be able to be surprised by that was a really great and special moment. And to see the look on her face when she finds out, and then, they're going to fly you to Los Angeles and you get to go to the ESPYs and you experience all that, that was pretty special.
She's humble like her dad. She doesn't want the spotlight. She just enjoys running, and she was really good at it. And she was probably, in my opinion, a quiet leader and had more of a presence than she probably ever realized.
Natalie definitely inspired me to become a better runner. And after she left, everyone kind of knew around here who Flower Mound was, and whenever we traveled to bigger meets, they would always look at us a little bit differently, they knew who we were, but they weren't going to say anything.
Flower Mound, Texas. Nicole Humphreys, Alexander Cox, Samantha Humphreys, and the closer, Natalie Cook.
During the summer, Coach Cook pulled me and the Humphrey twins aside and said, hey, all three of you have a chance to win state at cross country this year. And in my head, I was like, there's no way, that's not happening.
We're upperclassmen now, we were juniors. It's time to step it up. Not only was the goal to win as a team, but this idea of being able to win ourselves was finally there. In the state meet, I remember throughout the race, just kind of being side by side and just kind of feeding off each other. My sister and I were always we would always finish together or close.
They usually like to take the lead from each other and kind of push each other.
We made the last turn coming down the final home stretch, and we were still there together, still sprinting it in. We had it perfectly. We were right next to each other, and I remember saying we should tie. But I kind of blew it off in my head because that's so hard to do. And the technology these days, they can find a way to make it come down to the millisecond or something. By the time we got to the tape, we were both there. I didn't know who won, but I just figured they'll find a way to come out with a winner, but they never did. On the results, it says we finished the exact same time. They gave us both gold medals. I think that's just a perfect summary of the relationship we have with each other. But also, I think something that was equally special about that race was the fact that Alex was third, right behind us. And we went 1, 2, 3. or I guess 1 and 3.
Because that was just never heard of as 3 girls from the same team at the state level.
Just such a defining moment for our team and like our program.
With having Natalie Cook and having Nick and Sam, they made a name for Flower Mound. That's kind of, I believe, what started it, but definitely continuing it is what makes the difference.
Individual sports are hard, and to get a team concept built within an individual sport is not easy.
Well, I think the culture of your program is a big thing, right? You want to teach the kids that, hey, you can make each other better. You know, it should be us versus the other teams, not us versus ourselves. And so I think when you kind of start to focus on how you can make each other better, how you can make each other faster, I think that makes a big difference.
Those kids in his program, whether you're the top runner or you're at the bottom, he makes you feel valuable and finds a place for you in a program that's very successful.
My freshman year, I was kind of towards the end of that pack, and now I'm the one leading the pack. So it's just that mindset of you're not necessarily just doing it for yourself, but you're doing it for your team, and there's other people relying on you.
Every time that, you know, our top 7 would go to nationals or things like that for cross country, I remember one time this girl named Ava Clayton on our team, she had the team all write us personal notes and took them with us. And that team bonding is really important. You know, it's only 5 people scoring, but you really need the rest of your team. I think, you know, any team can run fast, but Flower Mound has just a special bond between its athletes. You need that coaching, you need that team culture, and just the people around you and that support. You know, we really all do care about each other, and it's that way because of Coach Cook.
Coach Lyles and I have this little joke about we're here to watch Coach Cook do his run around.
He was very active on the cross-country course, more so than us, honestly.
You just see Coach Cook pop out of a tree, and I know, like, start his watch sometimes and, like, keep track of how many miles he gets.
He likes to get to the remote areas because he's an encourager. He wants those kids to see his face and hear his voice to you know, keep going.
Like, he enjoys seeing his athletes succeed, and I know as one of his athletes, I felt that.
One of his best attributes, I think, is personalizing like people's workouts. So we're not all just doing the same thing out here. It's specialized, and I think that's really helpful.
He would always tailor our workouts, or he would go out of his way to make sure if we're okay and like how is our body doing.
He like really prioritized my health and like longevity, and that was evident even back from when I was a 6th grader, which I'm honestly so thankful for.
Coach Cook is a very intentional coach. You know, he has a passion for running, but not only that, he actually cares about his athletes.
You spend a lot of time with the athletes. You have practice, you know, 6 days a week, and so you see them all the time. And I tell them, you know, I joke around, I say the hardest part of my job is collecting uniforms. But then when they're ready to graduate, I tell them that's not the hardest part of my job. The hardest part of my job is saying goodbye.
Honestly, he's always there. He's a phone call away. And every time I come home, like, I always look forward to coming back and running with the team and running with him. And his reaction was like just as I thought it would be. I'm always here for you. You can call me anytime. I still believe in you. Just because I know that he cares so much about me. There's always been a saying at Flower Mound, once a Jag, always a Jag. I'm an Oregon Duck now, but I do really feel that connection to Flower Mound and back home.
Looking back to my freshman year, I would never see this happening. I would never see myself running for A&M. I never saw myself going to nationals or having state titles under my belt. I just joined the team because I wanted to run and I wanted that free Nike tank top.
As I was college searching, like a huge part of what I wanted in a team, you know, was a good team culture, and A&M had that. And so I think in a lot of ways it's going to be like Flower Mound, and having Alex with me will be really nice, and I think together we'll taking the work ethic and the positivity from Flower Mound will make a difference.
Sometimes it kind of hits me like this is really cool to be able to have this legacy. I'm very grateful to be a part of it. It's taught me so many other things, just how to work hard in and out of sports, and just also to be confident in myself and just not being afraid to work hard, not being afraid to fail.
I will say, you know, I just enjoy waking up in the morning. I enjoy the opportunity to work with the athletes. There's nothing more rewarding than seeing a kid work hard for something and achieve a goal. You know, and I feel at their age, you know, being a high school kid is a difficult time. And if you can be there and to help that time be a little better for them and help them have good memories and good experiences, to me, that's all I need. The winning is great. That obviously gets the competitive fire in me going, but the main driver is giving a good experience to those kids, helping them to enjoy something that I love to do, which is running.